28 years ago, Subaru released a car that no one really expected in the market. It was something that was fun, had a turbocharged engine, 6-speed manual. Fast forward 28 years later, it is part of a duo of controversial cars, one including the STI, and next to it, the 2022 WRX. And today, we're going to take a look at both of them and see exactly why everybody has such a big problem.
This is the 2018 STI, the V8 chassis. The chassis that was deemed too safe, the styling that was said to be too far removed from the classic hatch and hog-eye style, and the engine that was said to be too old and tired to perform against the competition. Competition such as the GTI, the competition like the Golf R, or even in some cases the Civic Si, and now we have the Civic Type R. Now this is the 2002 STI. Again, at its release, this car was ridiculed for its looks and larger size than the Impreza 22B that came before it. Now, to be fair, these two cars are about 20 years apart, but at the heart of both of them beats the design logic that Subaru has not wavered from, for better or worse. They provide the thrills of having a rally-inspired road car, and in 2022, the STI was dealt the worst blow of all: cancellation. Now, the controversy that this car has is Subaru deciding to cancel it in favor of an eventual hybrid or electric performance car. What that is remains to be seen, or even heard of, considering Subaru is already having such a hard time fulfilling demands of their non-performance hybrids. There's also the fact that it now has a slightly inflated used market price, and you thought Subarus held their value before. I would suggest not looking up the price of any of these used STIs right now, unless you want to cry. Shifting gears, we look at the WRX from 2022, and it's running into a similar issue that the old cars did. It's ugly, it's changed too much, it's way too soft, too easy to live with. Have we all heard this before? It seems like it just repeats. I do believe that some of the issues that the WRX is facing is probably Subaru's own fault for canceling the STI and releasing the WRX at the same time. One begs to question, what would have happened if the cancellation news came first, and then the WRX was announced? Realistically, this new F824 could have been the engine in the new STI. With aftermarket tuning, we've already seen that the WRX can easily hit over 300 horsepower. A new STI with power figures north of that is totally plausible.
Another thing that's been highly controversial is actually these fenders, but I know that you want to paint them, but this is functional. There's a reason why these holes are here. Now, is it going to make your car that much faster? Probably not. But something to remember, that a lot of people that are paint matching these things are actually sanding down this honeycomb, which honestly, it kind of looks really good. You can see the honeycomb is across the whole car. And if you come back here to the rear wheel, this section of the bumper is actually open, in which it does allow air to come out from the back wheel out of this bumper. Now, again, this is not something that's on the VA, but is it that big of a deal? I don't really think so. Now, if we come over to the STI here, you'll see that just like the WRX VAs, that there is a section that Subaru started this idea, but never fully committed to having these functional holes. Most people I've seen on the internet have cut holes in their fender and then cut these out to allow the passage of air. Now, this is only possible in the front. The rear does not have that capability because the bumper is completely solid top to bottom. Something else I really want to compare here is these taillights. As much as everybody hates them, they do have this really cool pattern. It's harder to see. The plastic inside is a little perforated, so when the light hits it, light shines all over the place. And this is something that Mercedes has on a lot of their cars, and some of their high-end cars, they call it a starlight pattern. I don't think Subaru calls it anything special, but people call it the Civic lights or stapler lights or whatever you want to call it. But really, if you think about it, is it really that bad? And in comparison, we'll look at the older lights. Now, as you can see, the shape was already starting to become a little slanted. If you compare these to something from the, well, you can't really compare it to the hatch, but if you looked at the sedans from 2008 up to 2014, they already started having this slant. And Subaru knew they wanted to extend them in some way, and they still don't look bad. I'd say for the most part, the shape and the intention is still the same. They wanted to have this C, or reverse C in this case, in the back, and they still wanted to have a separate turn. and a separate reverse. So really, it's just an extension of an already great design. So a controversial topic when the 2022 came out, and people have just been judging it based off the pictures, is the rear bumper is humongous. So what I did today was actually brought a measuring tape, and we're gonna see exactly how big it is. And this will finally put an end to all the fighting. So from the lip itself, it is about 3 inches to the top of the bumper, and I'd say about 3 1/4 inches to the furthest part on the outside. So we're gonna step over to the 22 and see how much bigger it is. It's so big.
But it's not that big.
It really isn't. All right, now this is it. It was 3 inches on the STI, and it was about 3 1/4 to the furthest point because of the way that the bumper bulges. Now the 22 bumper does not bulge. It's actually flat all the way through. And what we're gonna do is measure, there's 2 areas. There's this plastic area that's actually protruded about 1/2 inch. And then there's the actual, this is the back of the car because the trunk doesn't come all the way down. So we're gonna measure from the furthest in that we can measure to actually put this 22 at a disadvantage, and let's see exactly how much space we have. So from the furthest point on the inside of the body panel, it is about, and I'm not even gonna, you're not even gonna believe this, it is about 2 inches and 7/8. So it's actually shorter than the 21 or 2015 to 2021 VA, WRX, or STI. So all this complaining about how this is such a big bumper, I can understand why people think that, because of the way that it protrudes more on the sides than it does in the middle, gives it the perception that it's actually bigger. But guess what? It's not. Now, there is no one car that fits all the situations. Whether you like the way the 22 looks or you don't, you still can't deny that all year round, you're gonna have fun with either of these cars. All-wheel drive, turbocharged, 6-speed, 4 doors, and fairly comfortable interiors is what you get regardless of which one you get. Now, if you have a STI, is there a reason for you to get one of these? Probably not, if you're looking for speed. Now, if you have a WRX, which if you've seen in some of my other videos, that a stock for stock WRX S22 is actually faster. And not just because the engine or anything like that, it's honestly the stock tune is what's great. Your other option is if you buy a 22 WRX, or I'm sorry, a 21 WRX, you're still gonna get a Pro Tune, or you're still gonna get an AX support or something to help make that car drive better. This one drives great from the factory, and this one does as well. They're different cars, they accomplish the same thing. And really, if you think about it, if Subaru released a 2022 STI, this is what it was gonna look like. So you're telling me you wouldn't buy it? Because I call bullshit on that. So now, we're actually gonna take these 2 cars out, we're gonna do some driving on the highway and just see exactly how much slower or faster, we don't know yet, the 22 is versus a 6-speed STI. And I am really excited to share those results with you guys.